Before you do it, what will that mean for your future? Before you do it, what will that mean for your future? What's up, family? What's happening? 6:30. Time to get a little sharper. What's happening with you? It's another Thursday, another opportunity. Excited to be here as always. Y'all know it don't take much for me. I'm always excited about Thursday. We're here again to make it do what it do. So we're going to roll into chapter 49 of Genesis this week. But before we do that, of course, I need to get my lovely wife on here with me. So let's make sure we got her. Let's get this cranking so we can move forward. She's gonna be chiming in here in a second. Hey, Mama Jane, what's happening? What's happening? Hope you're doing well. Your shirt is coming. Your shirt is coming. I promise you. But look, man, I was trying to wait for my wife to get in here, but she'll chime in. She'll get on here. But I wanna say this before we get into chapter 49. Might not be something major, but to me it's major. It's because, all right, so let me just fess up. I had a ticket. I got a ticket, okay? All right, I got a ticket. And I got irritated about this ticket. I really did. I got seriously irritated about this ticket. But I got the ticket, okay? You know, once you get a ticket, ain't nothing you can do about it. You got to deal with reality. Come on, babe. I know you're supposed to be on here. Where you at? Come on. There we go. Okay. All right. Coming on that now. She'll be coming on that now. But anyway, I'm going to keep on sharing my story about my ticket. So I got a ticket, and I had to go to court today. Because I just didn't want to give in on that ticket, okay? If you go by the letter of the law, you can say that, yes, I was in violation. But I had a problem with this ticket. So I went to court today. They called me up. And just like that, the judge says, yours is dismissed. Go have a seat on the first row. So I give God praise and thanks because I didn't have to do anything, didn't have to say anything. The only thing I said in court today was, do I need to use blue ink or black ink to sign off? That's it. But they gave me paperwork that said my case was dismissed and I don't owe anything. So to God be the glory. I'm excited about that. And I didn't have to say nothing. So what do we get out of that? Sometimes we just let him deal with it. Not you, let him deal with it, okay? You just come there like you're supposed to, in order, peaceful, keep your mouth closed. Let him handle it. So, babe, you good?
Yes, let God be God. Let him
Yes,
fight your
let God
battles
be
for
God.
you.
There it is. Let him fight your battles for you. When we try to fight those battles, that's when things go wrong. And then we wonder why we didn't get the results we was looking for, or we was hoping for, or praying for. Get out of the way. Let him do what he do. Okay? All right. Let's do it so we can get into chapter 49. On the count of three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. All right, here we go. Chapter 49. Now, I'm going to tell y'all now, with chapter 49, when you read chapter 49, because I always tell you, go read for yourself. Don't rely on me or any pastor or anybody that you listen to. Don't rely on everything they say. Sometimes you got to go read the scriptures for, ain't no sometimes, you have to go read the scriptures for yourself, okay? And the reality is, when we read these scriptures, we have a tendency sometimes to get something different out of it, okay? And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, because that's one of the beautiful things about God's word is I can read it today, get one thing, read it tomorrow, get something different, read it 2 years from now and get something that I never even heard or thought of before, right? That's the beautiful thing about God's word, right? So chapter 49 is God's word. And so some of these things in chapter 49, you kind of have to stretch your imagination a little bit, when you read the words and the way they describe the sons of Jacob, or the way Jacob describes his sons, I should say, because Jacob has called his sons, because again, remember that Jacob is now preparing for his demise, okay? He's preparing for his death. He knows it's that time is coming. So he's making sure everything is in order before he leaves. And so he calls them together to bless each one of his sons. Now, I say that blessing because when you hear about some of the things that he said to his sons, you might not think it was a blessing, but he was pretty much just saying, what was bound to happen in the future as it related to his sons. So, babe, do you have anything? Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
well, I mean, I love how he was being transparent about his family,
Yes.
and
Yes.
he used a lot of metaphors and
Yes.
uh, descriptions to describe who they were. I love
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
his way of describing who they were.
Yeah.
But I love the concept that no matter who they were
Yeah.
still his family, and he
Yeah.
was still going to bless them,
Yeah.
no matter what they did or who they were
Yeah.
or the things that they did in
Yeah.
the past. You know,
Hmm.
they were still his family.
Yeah. They're still
Yep.
family, but even despite, and we'll go through. I'm gonna briefly go through each one of them, and again, I tell you to read for yourself. But we'll go briefly through each one of them, and it's just a little small synopsis of what he said to them. But you're gonna have to go read it in depth for yourself. But he addressed each one of his sons, and the first couple off the bat, it's hard to say that he was blessing them, but like to you just said, babe, he was being real about his family. He was being real, and sometimes it can be a little difficult to really accept the truth about some of our family. Okay, but sometimes when we get up in age and and we done been around the block a few times, it's a lot easier to just deal with reality, because you know reality happens, right? And you can act like it ain't that ain't the truth. You can act like it ain't what it really is, but at some point, you're going to have to face truth. And this is what he was doing with his son. So off the bat was Reuben. And I remember reading in chapter 35, and he talked about Reuben, and and it spoke about Reuben sleeping with Jake, one of Jacob's wives, right? And now this is his son. His son went in and took one of his wives. And I wonder back in 35, why was that so important to mention? Because it just said that and never said anything else, any pros or cons or anything else in chapter 35 about that particular incident. But then we get to chapter 49 and he tells him, because of what you did, you have now lost what you would have gotten as the firstborn. Okay, remember, it's been, firstborns have always gotten that extra blessing, right? That extra special blessing. But he lost that, the preeminence of his blessing that he was supposed to get as the firstborn. The benefits that he get from that, from his birthright, was lost because of what he did right there. And so, at his, this is how Jacob addressed his son, Reuben, saying that, you have lost everything that you normally would get as the firstborn, the birthright. So then he moves on to his other next two sons, Reuben, and I'm sorry, Simeon and Levi. And if you remember Simeon and Levi, those were the two that had to go and revenge. They sought out to get revenge for what Shechem had done to their sister Dinah or Dina. Y'all know me in these names. But they wanted to, and they got revenge for what happened. But if you also read in 35, Jacob came down hard on them for what they did. And you have to read chapter 35 for yourself to get the full story. But he came down hard on them for what they did, because now, with all the killing that they did, it now put Jacob and his family in a bad spot. Okay? And then they actually end up having to move and leave because of what they did. And Jacob was not a happy camper with what they did. And so he addressed them to say, hey, because of what y'all did, it said they're the ringleaders and getting revenge. They will be scattered and dispersed. Okay, they will be scattered and dispersed. Okay, because of what they did. So then he moved on to Judah. Now this is a good one right here, because with Judah, he told him, Judah, you're going to be a leader. You basically are going to have the staff and the scepter in your hand, and you will keep that until Christ comes. Okay, because it actually, if you read, I was reading in the Amplified version, it talked about the Messiah, I forget what it said. Hold on, I got it right here. The Messiah. I'm sorry, y'all. Please
The
bear
peaceful
with me.
one. The peace.
The peaceful one. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. The peaceful one. And it's referring to Jesus. And this is another example, even in the first book of the Bible. And there's a lot of references throughout the Old Testament that talks about Jesus and him coming. And so this is another example right here where Jacob is telling his son that you would be a leader, you would be in that position until Jesus comes. And so, and he would be, he would be great. Okay. So then you move on to Zebulun, and he basically told him Zebulun was going to be the water guy. He's going to be the water, but he's going to be the brother that liked to hang out by the water, right? But he was going to find favor there. His ships were going to be coming to him. So basically, what I envisioned was that he's going to be like a port, right? And all the goods and things going to be coming to him, and he will be having favor with those that will be coming by sea. Got anything so far, babe? I'll make sure I don't miss out on you.
Oh no,
We
you're good.
good? Okay. Then we got Issachar. And Issachar was one that it sounded like he ended up becoming and him and his because you also think about this. Let me backtrack a little bit. All of his sons were basically would become tribes, and so he's actually talking to not only to them, but what would come from their tribes. And his particular blessing that you wanted, if you want to look at it as a blessing, was that the people that come, they would be forced labor. So basically, what I took from that was slavery. Okay, what you think, babe? But it said he would be like a donkey. When you talk about donkeys carry stuff, right? Donkeys weren't exactly the most beautiful animal, but they were workhorses. They carried things. They used the donkey to carry things and heavy things too. And it talked about Issachar becoming a servant of forced labor. So Dan, the next one, Dan. Come on, jump in anytime, babe. But Dan shall judge his people, but he's going to be like a venomous serpent. Okay, and even talked about him being like a snake. Okay, and we don't ever really equate serpents and snakes as anything good and positive. But I think the thing that really stood out when he talked about Dan at the end, Jacob says, I'll wait for your salvation, Lord. Okay. So to me, that gave me the sense that Jacob is saying that my son here, he gonna need your help, Lord. You gonna have to step in and help this one right here. So, I wonder, some of us have said that about our kids. God, we're gonna need your help on this one right here. So, that's what I got out of when he addressed Dan. Then there was Gad, that he will be raided. Okay, he actually told Gad, they coming after you. They gonna get what you got, but don't fret because you will return the favor and you will be victorious. Okay, so that was Gad. Then there was Asher, and quite honestly, Asher, I got a little special something with Asher myself because Asher, it said his food supply would be rich and bountiful. So I got excited about that because anybody know me, I love some food, right? And all I could think about was fine dining. So Asher, that's my man right there. That's Asher, my man, because he got the food. So I don't hang out with Asher. But anyway, let's move on. Naphtali, and I think that's how you pronounce the name. Naphtali, Naphtali. Quick, fast moving warrior with eloquent speech. So he gonna know how to talk, okay? But he was he stick and move, okay? We know some folk like that. They can talk it and they gonna be sticking and moving. I think we know some folk that's like that. Then there's Joseph. Joseph. Now Joseph, which again, gotta remember, Joseph is Jacob's favorite, okay? Because it comes from who? Rachel, his first love. And with Joseph, he just simply told him, well, I ain't gonna say simply because he Joseph was the one he talked about the most, really, and how blessed he would be in so many different ways. Okay. Again, read it for yourself. I'm not gonna go in deep detail, but his enemies are gonna attack. He warned him, Joseph, your enemies are gonna attack, they're gonna harass you, they're gonna try to take what you got, they're going to provoke you, they're gonna, they're gonna be what they are, your enemies. But don't fret, because our God is going to take care of you. He's going to protect you. And your blessings are going to be bountiful. You're going to be blessed beyond measure, right? That's not what it actually said in the Bible, but if you read about everything and all the blessings he would be getting, it just spoke to how blessed he would be, okay? And so Joseph, that struggle that he went through with his brothers and being sold out and being put in jail because of Potiphar's wife and the things that he went through, you know, what you look at on the back end of the second half of his life, well, I didn't say the second half, but you look at how he got blessed through each one of those. And now he's even more blessed. So Joseph, yeah, that was a good one, right? Then last, that was Benjamin, okay? And that was Rachel's other son, and Joseph, brother. And he talked about how he would be a raven, like a ravenous wolf, right? But the good thing about him is that he would get the prey, but he wouldn't keep it all for himself. He's going to share it. So he's going to go out here and he's going to get it, but he's going to share it. He's going to divide the spoils, as it said. So this is how he addressed all of his sons. Okay, and really simply put, I asked the question at the very beginning. Before you do it, what will it mean for your future? Before you do it, what will it mean for your future? We got all kinds of examples right here in chapter 49. And what I think about with this is that we all have a past. Okay, we all have a past. And there are some things that from our past we would never be able to get rid of. We may be still dealing with some of the effects of a choice that we made in the past. But then there's Jesus. There's Jesus. And because of what happened in our past, but because of what he did for us, we don't have to stay underneath that. Now, there may be some things we still have to deal with as a result of what happened in the past. But because of Jesus, there's deliverance, there's opportunity. Okay? And there's a reason why you still have to deal with that. But it's something that can come from that through Jesus. Babe, you got something?
No, I mean, that's great. I just want to say, if there are any young people listening,
Yeah,
please listen to what Ron is saying about, some decisions you make
yeah,
when you're young will impact your future. That's it.
yeah, yeah. And that is so true. So you have to be mindful. It's so easy to get caught up. It's so easy to follow the crowd. It's so easy to, especially us being emotional creatures, we just respond out of emotion. Um, Stop and think. Just stop and pause for a second, and just really think about what it is you're about to do. Is it, can it impact your future? Something to think about. That's pretty much all about chapter 49. And of course, at the end of chapter 49, um, Jacob actually does um, end up passing away. And then they go and bury him in the cave that he asked them. And so Joseph, remember he made a pact. He made an agreement with his father that he would do exactly what he asked him to do when his time came, when he passed away, and he followed through on that. And so that's the end of chapter 49. But again, please make sure that you really think about what you do before you do it, because you don't want to impact your future. But we also have Jesus. So you may be dealing with some things from your past, but let's give God thanks for Jesus. Seek him, because he can still work it out for you and bring you through. That doesn't mean your future has to be bad or negative because what happened in your past. You might have to deal with some things from your past, but your future can be much better with Jesus. So that's all I got. Maybe you got anything before we sign out?
No,
All right.
great job.
That's pretty much it right here. Chapter 49. If it's the Lord's will, we're going to see you next week and we'll dive into the last chapter of Genesis, the last one, the last go round for Genesis. So that's it. Pray, plan, prepare, proceed. Make it do what it do. Love you. See you next week.